Were you waiting for me? I just ran back in my house to grab my computer because I was gonna take you guys out to the greenhouse. I want to show you something. And Bear's so faithful, just waiting for me. And Katie too, she's a good girl too. Hey sheep. We have the sheep out here in the little mobile pens. Now, 4 of my ewes, I knew when I got them they were bred, and the family I got them from told me that they could be due as early as January. So I like fretted and watched over them, and then several of you sent me over to Sandy Brock, and I felt a lot better after watching her because I was like, okay, I don't think my sheep are quite as close as I thought they were, and that was correct. So we actually put them out in this mobile pen, but I have been watching them like a hawk because if they do get close, I want to move them back up to where the barn is. Main thing was we were getting all this rain and the barnyard is pretty mushy, and one of them ended up getting a sore foot, some thrush in her foot. We had to treat that. So I'm kind of dancing right now. It would be fine if they lambed in here. I imagine they would be fine. I think they would be more comfortable in the barn. So I'm hoping to just keep a close eye on them. If we were going to be like leaving for a couple days, which we're not, I would put them back up in the barn just to be sure. But as it is right now, I mean, we've got eyes on them all day, every day. And we just move them to fresh grass every day that they can enjoy it. They got their eyes on Bear. Now this group is fine out here, you know, probably for the next couple months being moved around the ram and the 2 ewes that aren't very far along bred. Some of these girls look really heavily bred, like their bellies are hanging a lot, but it's harder to tell in mamas that have lambed before. I mean, after 5 kids, I do relate. I relate to that quite a lot. You are great sheep. You are the best ewes. Look at this empty garden. One of my most favorite things about having YouTube is having this just constant time capsule that I can just pop into and time travel back to other parts of my life, seeing different stages of my farm, seeing different stages of my babies. So the other day YouTube served me up this video. Let's come in here. All right, lovely place. It was a video of my kids when they were much smaller. I mean, it's like probably 5 or 6 years ago, so very early on in us doing YouTube. I started YouTube in 2018. It started to take off and I kind of started doing daily content, and I more or less did daily content most of 2018, a lot of 2019, and then again in 2020 when everybody was shut down for COVID. So were we didn't have any social obligations, so I was like, might as well. So I started doing daily content again then. So there's a lot of videos of that early point where my children were very small, and this one video came up of like early on in our garden, and man, it just wrecked my heart to see my baby so little. So my friend Cass, her channel is Say Mojo Homestead. She is actually using my greenhouse this year. I told her I would give her some space in here because they're in the process of building a window greenhouse, and she's over here by my house very regularly anyway. And so I was like, you know, you could just use some space. So her babies came up today. I sent her a picture this morning, and you know, don't worry, I wished them happy birthday since she wasn't here this morning. And I've begun a little bit of seed starting, not a ton. I did this yesterday. This needs a little water. It was pouring down rain. Yesterday was just crazy how relentless the rain was. It was a lot of water, and there was a lot of flooding actually in our area. Our property drains really well, but I was sitting in here doing these seeds, and it was so loud. I loved it. Wasn't really conducive to making video at all. I tried, and then you could not hear me. It was so loud, which in a certain way, that's actually really cool. But I have a lot more seeds to start. This is just some of my peppers and some eggplants, and I actually have some heat mats in storage I need to get out to put under there. So here's the view. I'm kind of embarrassed to show you guys this. This is the kind of chaos that happens whenever I sit down to organize. I just pulled a lot of seeds out. This actually isn't all the seeds I have, but a lot of these are some of the older seeds I have. And so I pulled out a lot of the older ones that I wanted to try to get through. Especially with some of these things, I am sowing like tomatoes and things, that if I sow them and they don't come up, if I have poor germination, I can sow them a little heavier. But if they don't come up, I have enough time to like try again with some fresher seeds. I don't think it'll be a problem. Seeds last a long time, like a lot of years. In fact, I very rarely have come across a situation where seeds that were older didn't germinate. The only exception to that is things like carrots, which they lose germination pretty quick. All right, so I brought my computer out here because I wanted to show you guys what I've been working on. And I apologize, I'm not terribly tech savvy. And so though I could probably try to get somebody else to help me edit this and like make it come up on my screen and all that stuff, I'm just gonna point my camera at the computer. I'm a gardener, okay? That's really where my strong suit is. The fact that my whole like livelihood is on the internet is hilarious if you actually know me, because I don't even know how to work the remote control. So I want to show you guys my layout here, because a lot of you see my garden from like the head-on perspective, but I mean, though I have posted kind of some aerial shots, this is a really cool way to actually like see my garden. So I'm using this program called Seed Time, and many of you have heard of it. I actually hosted a webinar a week or two ago sharing about it, and they ran us through like a, I don't know, an hour-and-a-half long webinar kind of showing all the things that you can do with it. I will put a link to that replay if you want to check out that webinar, and also put a link just to the program if you want to go check it out. They have all different tiers. They have like a free level, and then they have different paid levels that really come in handy if you're gardening on a larger scale, if you're growing gardens through multiple seasons, especially if you're doing something like market gardening or anything where you're really trying to maximize your space, grow as much food as possible. But one of the really cool things that this has is this layout feature. So this is more or less my garden layout, and I've got, this is my raised bed garden, which I don't have the cottage garden all mapped out yet, though I am planning on adding that, and I don't have like all the in-ground beds around here mapped out. But the thing that I've been doing with this is, like, for instance over here, these teas, this is just like I just used like a generic variety of tomato here, and I put the spacing in and I stretched it out to see how many tomatoes I can feasibly fit in this bed. Same thing over here. I've got this, actually I selected different varieties on this. So this has all my different varieties of cherry tomatoes. It's got like green beans, eggplants, okras, all the things I'm putting on my trellis. And this last weekend I spent a good bit of time just like really intensely going through this program and lining out exactly what I was putting where. And this is new to me. I have been a fly by the seat of my pants gardener for a really long time. But every year I have felt like I didn't really make the most of my spaces. I could have done more. And this year we're actually nixing one of our big in-ground gardens. And we're actually going to be working on developing some other spaces, but I wanted to fully maximize the garden I had and make the most of it. The reason we're nixing the big one is because it's right in front of where we're building our house, and with having construction vehicles coming in and out, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to like manage landscape around construction vehicles. It's a frustrating experience, so we're trying to avoid that. But with that being the case, I'm really wanting to make the most of these spaces. And I said I was only going to plan out my raised bed garden and totally fly by the seat of my pants in the other places. I actually think I'm going to run my high tunnel. I'm doing one high tunnel with cut flowers, and then the other one I'm doing food in. And I think I'm going to run the food tunnel through this also, just to give me an idea of like how many plants can I feasibly fit in all of these spaces, so that when I'm seed starting, I will start extra plants. I like to share the love. I like to give plants to people. It's just something I've always done. I have the space, I have the seeds, I have the stuff. I can start extra plants and make up for some people who can't. But I don't want to start so much excess that I really don't have a place to plant all the things I really want to plant. And by making a plan, I'm actually making sure now on the front end that I am accounting for all the things that I want to plant. So I'm really loving it. I wanted to show it to you guys too, because this just tickles me. Like, that's my garden. Look at it. It's so nice. It's got the pavilion, and then these 3 beds, and of course here's the fence that's back there towards the cows. Isn't that so cool? I really like you know, you work on an art project for a long time and you want to like show people. That's how I feel about this plan. When I see all the colors on there for all the different plants, I'm like, oh, I wish I could just post this. That's what I'm doing, I guess. But yeah, it's really awesome. I've previously in the years past been asked a lot about a planning program and what seed planner I use, what garden journal I use, you know, what record keeping do I use. And previously I've always told you guys YouTube, that's how I keep my records. I make garden tours. Like, you guys see my records, they're there for the public. If I ever need to see, like, when did I do this or how did that do, I just go back and watch my own garden tours. However, that's getting a lot harder as the years go on because it all starts running together. There's a whole lot out there. And I think that this is probably going to be better. And already I can see how it's making me more effective. So those of you who have repeatedly asked for a recommendation for a program, I am really, really enjoying this. So I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah, this mess here, I'm not ready to put it up yet. This actually makes complete sense to me. I know some of you actually organize people. I'm talking about my organization. Oh, look at me, I'm making a plan. Some of you organized people are looking at this and like your eye is twitching, but I actually kind of know what's going on this table. I've got it under control. So I'm gonna start more pepper seeds. I don't know, maybe tomorrow. I will definitely show you guys that. I'm gonna make a video of that and kind of talk about the varieties that I'm growing. I'm paring back a little bit on peppers this year and not growing quite as much of a wide variety, which I mean, I'm still probably growing like 20 plus types of peppers. So relatively, like relative to how I have done in the past, I am not growing a huge variety. Still growing quite a lot, but I'm really trying to be mindful in growing peppers that the peppers I grow, I have a preservation plan for. Like last year and in multiple years past, I grow so many different kinds and they're coming all ripe at different times. And I end up giving a lot of them away and I preserve a good deal, but there's not as much structure to it. So like this year, I have a few goals. Like I really want to can quite a few small jars of pimento peppers. I want to can a lot of jars of like small Anaheim chilies, like the little green chilies, because I find myself cooking with those a lot, you know, making things like enchiladas and throwing them in chili or in soups. And I even will throw those little peppers into like a pasta dish or something like that, or mac and cheese with those in it. It's good. I don't really get to eat that stuff anymore, but it's good. And that is one thing that this winter I found myself buying. I ordered like cases of those little green peppers from Azure Standard, and I was like, why am I not growing these? So I have a few things like that this year I'm really focusing on. The food high tunnel is largely going to be peppers. They do great in the high tunnel. Now one other thing, somebody asked, they saw these the other day. Right here, I have all these bags of flower bulbs. I am doing a high tunnel of flowers this year. I wanted to do it last year and then it didn't get high enough on the priority list for us to do that. So we ended up really just letting that tunnel rest last year. You know, we let what volunteered grew and continued working on the soil health, because that's the high tunnel that had previously had some contamination and some compost I brought in. But this year I want to do all the cut flowers, and I've already done ranunculus. We've already planted sweet peas, but I wanted to do like a lot of dahlias. I wanted to do bulbs and stuff, but I'm not 100% sure if this is going to be an ongoing thing. I don't know if I'm always going to do the cut flowers in that tunnel. So I didn't want to invest a ton of money in getting lots of like really high dollar flowers to put in there if I'm not sure that it's something I'm wanting to do long term. Now here in the balmy south, I can plant dahlias and just leave them in the ground. They'll come back year after year. They're perennial here. And this is just a tip if you're wanting to put like flower bulbs in. Costco every year gets a couple of pallets of these bags of bulbs, and they are really, really affordable. So like this bag has 8 dahlias and it was like $12.99, I think, something like that. All of these was $200 for enough that it's largely going to fill up the rest of the space in my high tunnel. So you can imagine, like that's a lot of flowers. And the thing is too, which I don't have scissors out here, dahlia tubers are like, or bulbs, they look kind of like a hand. They have all the little fingers on them. And this is not just 8 bulbs, it's 8 of the clusters of bulbs. So you can potentially split them up even further and make them go in even further space. And so I got a variety, largely dahlias. I did get some, I'm gonna say those, peonies. I'm so southern, and when I say peonies, whenever I'm talking fast, it sounds like I'm saying panties, and I'm not trying to grow any panties in the high tunnel. Peonies. So, sorry about it. I got a little bit of that, but they don't particularly love the heat, so I didn't want to dedicate a lot of space for them. And then gladiolas. Gladiolas make me think of my mom. Some cannas. These I'm putting down by the pond. And this is Alcea, so this is hollyhocks. And I thought that this was interesting, buying these, is I guess these are bare roots. I don't think that that's called bulbs when you do these. I do not know a ton about flowers. I really only feel like I've mastered gardening food, and even that I really don't feel like much of a master. But yeah, this is some hollyhocks. Now, I loved my black hollyhocks when I was in Arkansas. They were just enchanting to me. I planted black hollyhocks here, and everybody here told me you're gonna have a hard time growing hollyhocks. They get rust real bad here in South Carolina. It's so humid. And everybody was right. All my hollyhocks last year died of rust. Now some of them are starting to grow again, so maybe they'll bloom. This, maybe will it work, I don't know. But these are the dark maroon, so it kind of looks like the black ones, but these are like double flowered ones. I don't know. This was just what we could justify. Like, I wanted to do the flower tunnel. I would have liked to do something super extravagant. We're building our house this year. I'm having to really be mindful with my gardening budget this year. And this was the extent of it. $200 on the flowers for the high tunnel plus seeds. That felt like an extravagant move for me on something that I don't really have a plan for it to like make money back. I don't know, maybe we could sell these at the market. We're gonna be doing a farmer's market this year. So like maybe I could sell cut flowers. Obviously, I'm not showing you guys my expertise in business by telling you my plan here. If you want to learn how to do a cut flower business, I've got better people I can send you to. But if you want to know where the cheap bulbs are, I'm your girl. All right, actually, let's walk down there. All right. Bear, do you want to come in? Do you want to come in, or are you going to run around and chase the killdeer birds? I'm not making you come in from outside playing. He's so mopey sometimes. All right, high tunnel 1. So this is going to continue to be the food tunnel. It's got food in it right now. Of course, the other one does too right now. And right now, oh, Bear didn't want to hang out with me anymore. Right now, it's got quite a mix of things. Spinach. We did put the onions in here this year. I got them as sets from Dixondale. I've had so many issues. I grew onions like crazy when I was in Arkansas, but I have had a lot of issues since moving to South Carolina getting my onions to grow well. Historically, what's happened now, let's see, this is our 3rd winter here. Can you believe that? And the last 2 winters, I plant my onions at the right time, but then we have a freeze that freezes them back, kills them off. And the reason why, I don't think it's that the freeze is something the onions can't withstand. I think it's the fact that it just still gets so warm here. I mean, it's not unusual for us to have like an 80-degree day in the winter, which is 26 Celsius. And so the onions, I think, can't go from those extremes, being so warm, to being like a hard freeze. So anyway, the last 2 years they've died back, and then when they come back and start growing again, they just go straight to seed. So I've had onions, but once an onion has started to bolt, go to seed, it doesn't store well. So the last couple years I've had to take all the onions I've harvested and just like essentially put them through the food processor and freeze dry them or freeze them or try to dehydrate them. So it hasn't been what I want. I haven't gotten like a nice storage of onions. So this year I decided I wanted them in the high tunnel, because then if we do get a freeze, hopefully I'll be able to protect them enough that they'll just keep growing. We put a few in the high tunnel last year and they were great. So hopefully this is my year. 3rd time's a charm, right? Otherwise out here, it's lots of brassicas, root vegetables. Of course, there's onions just popped in everywhere. And as we harvest these things, we will amend the soil with compost and be prepared that when we get out of our frost danger, we'll start putting things like peppers in here and probably some tomatoes and eggplant. I usually don't love to grow tomatoes in a high tunnel. The plants do stay healthy longer, but the fruit just tastes slightly disappointing, you know? If store-bought tomatoes taste like disappointment, greenhouse grown tomatoes they have a hint of that flavor, and I don't dig it. I like my tomatoes grown out in the summer sunshine, so they get so sweet. And yeah, they're stressed out because it's so hot and sunny, but the stress makes them sweeter. It actually does. Like whenever tomato plants get stressed, they actually produce tastier fruit. Oh, so now this tunnel, God, it smells like the earth, fully alive in here. This tunnel is, you know, what's left that we haven't harvested, and there's quite a bit. We got Brussels sprouts, some cabbages, another planting of some little seeds. These are golden beets, and there's lots of kale, like Napa cabbages, which they're just now starting to head. Along the back, those are the ranunculus. So those will stay in here. Those will be cut flowers. Here's some rutabagas, my favy. So this is gonna be all the flowers. Can you all imagine this? This is what I was talking about. I love the time capsule because in the summer, somebody's gonna watch this video. This video, which was shot mid-February of 2024. And when this is wild, full of color, full of beauty, somebody's gonna watch this video, hey future person, and they're gonna be like, Jess, do you remember when it was like this and you were imagining how beautiful it's gonna be? And I'm gonna come and I'm gonna look at it in this video and I'm gonna be like, so hey future me. This is why I encourage you guys to make lots of videos on your phone, take lots of pictures of your garden, because progress is astounding when you're looking back on it. We never realize when we're in the middle of projects, in the middle of planning, in the middle of building, we never realize just how much is changing. In the middle of raising babies, we never really realize how much is changing regularly when we're in the thick of it. But when we look back, even just 6 months, even just 6 years, we don't have to look back a super long way to be like, wow, so much has changed. Y'all, this is one of my favorite things when the sunlight hits the treetops like this. I don't know why, but it just really moves my heart. Bear's going to chase a bird. So this is my garden that we're gonna have to not plant this year. That's okay. Last year was the first year we've done this, but I just think it'll be better to not try to have that, because our house is going to be right here and we are looking at breaking ground on that. Like we got like the news yesterday that we'll be breaking ground within a month, so that's pretty cool. Right here, this is another thing I'm going to look back on and wow at, because this field is not going to feel as vast and open in another handful of months. Can y'all tell that I'm sappy right now? So I would love to know, are you taking photos? Are you making records? Are you planting your garden? How are you doing it? Thank you guys for bearing with my sappiness. And thank you, as always, for hanging out with me today and all the days you do. I bless you. Until next time.